I'm Robin, and today we are talking about the purpose of fan fiction. Does fan fiction serve a purpose in fandoms, or does it hinder the fandom? I asked a bunch of people online, and I got some friends to join me today to talk about fan fiction. So let's get to it. Today, I am joined by William, Scott, Josh, and Garen to talk about their thoughts on fan fiction in fandoms.
I'm all for it, because I mean, at the end of the day, even if there's no full public response to it, the fact that they're willing to actually demonstrate their talent and their craft and even show off what inspires them, that's equally impressive. Because I mean, these days, not too many people actually even share what they're working on, or if they do, they're very hesitant to even discuss it. So this is a good way of bridging the gap.
Someone who wrote to me anonymously decided to tell me how they use fanfiction as a creative outlet to deal with difficult things in their real life.
As a writer, I just prefer to write my own stuff.
Okay.
So maybe I'm a little different in that aspect. But I also know that one of my biggest weaknesses as a writer is taking an existing character that already has a backstory, personality, and everything, and continuing their story, because my gut is always, well, I want to do something different with it, and that typically takes them out of their comfort zone. And if people were to read this, they would be like, that's not the character I fell in love with. What the hell are you trying to do? It's something that I struggle with. That's why I never made the jump out to Hollywood to try to work on a writer staff for TV shows, because TV is my favorite medium. That's why I've really just kind of like stayed to the ground and just kind of create my own stuff and partner with different producers that, have track records that can, maybe help me sell something and work through those channels. So the fan fiction side of things is not really my forte. I do have a friend of mine who she is very much ingrained in nerd culture as I am, and she absolutely loves fan fiction.
Got it.
She writes some of her own stuff. So I definitely understand what it brings to the table. And for me personally, I just think that it creates a lot of, what's the best way to phrase this? Unrealistic expectations.
Okay.
Because and I think a perfect example of that is Star Wars. We kind of saw what happened when let me rephrase that. Not everybody saw it, because not everybody was alive back then, but kind of the reactions to episodes 4, 5, and 6, like with the original trilogy, and how many people loved it. Well, then they started making comic books, and then they started writing novels, and then just kind of the aura around the universe just continued to grow, and so many more fans became attached to it. And then they released episodes 1, 2, and 3. And I've rarely heard anybody say nice things about the first 3, like 1, 2, and 3, right? Everybody always has something to say. No, well, in this book, they discovered this, so that wouldn't work with this. And that to me is what fan fiction is. It's you're taking something in a completely different direction. Somebody falls in love with it, but then when the actual source material decides to do something that the creators wanted it to do, you as the fan don't appreciate that because of something else that you read.
Yeah.
So I think in a way, fan fiction, it's great because it keeps the idea of what you fall in love with, like it keeps that alive, but it also becomes very divisive in a way.
Yeah. One person spoke about how fan fiction was only in fanzines distributed at conventions before the internet made it so easy for people to publish their work online.
Some of it's actually pretty good. Some is really bad. But you can tell if someone just doing a fan fiction just to say, oh, I made a fan fiction in this area for this show, or someone who's actually is a good follower of the show and they try to stick. They may change some things like who gets together, and they wanted to see what would in their version
what would happen if a certain situation happened, what would happen,
the opposite happened.
This person did this instead of this, that sort of thing.
and supernatural is pretty big in fan fiction. I hear. I hadn't read much of it because I'm way behind in supernatural. But like I said, there's some people that they do it just to love for the show. You can tell when it's love of the show versus someone just like, oh, this is popular, let me do it. See if I can get people. And then people just actually hate on them because they're doing crap that shouldn't be done.
Yeah.
Like it's violating the rules of the universe. You have to know the rules if you want to write even fan fiction.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of fan fiction. Like now, there is something called eFeds. It's kind of like I would compare it to like Dungeons and Dragons, where and I used to do this back in high school, where you can either pick like the Undertaker or already like established wrestler, or you can make up a character and you write your own promos and everything based on those.
So you kind of role play as them almost? That's cool.
So yeah, I used to do that, and actually I'm on a freelance website called Upwork, and somebody actually hired me to write their role plays for them. So I've been doing that for the last couple months. So
I love that.
Like he wasn't winning at all, and now I have him in the Hall of Fame and winning championships, so it's pretty cool.
Some fan fiction writers like E.L. James get lucky and their fan fiction is picked up, reworked, and published as an original story. Her Twilight fan fiction, called Master of the Universe, was picked up and turned into 50 Shades of Grey.
I was inspired by Stephanie Meyer. She just flipped this switch. And then
So how do you feel? Do you think fan fiction serves a purpose in fandoms? Does it help them or hinder them? The choice is yours. See you next time.